Tonight on Ctv3 News, a call for help as a family of 5 loses their home to a devastating fire. The incident occurred in Cristo Rey, Corozal, while the family was at a church service. Who destroyed an ancient archaeological complex at El Pocito near Guinea Grass? Authorities appeal for information after heavy machinery enters the area and damages part of the mine site. And a call for the removal of BTL's chairman Mark Lizarraga and other directors as the NTUCB, BNTU, and other unions make demands. These are some of the stories we have for you tonight in our newscast for Tuesday, August 18th, 2026.
Money travels fast, so make sure you check it before you spend it. Here are 4 easy ways to know your money is real. Look, feel, tilt, and check. Look closely at your note by holding it to the light to see the watermark and the note value. Notice how the see-through image completes itself perfectly. Feel for authenticity. Run your fingers over the raised portrait and the bars on the edges. 1 bar for the $2 and up to 6 bars for the $100. Tilt the note to see the hidden value appear. Look for the moving images on the security thread and holographic shimmer on higher denominations. Check closely. Use UV light or a magnifying glass to find hidden images and microtext. Remember, handling counterfeit money is illegal. If you spot a fake, report it to the police immediately. Look, feel, tilt, and check. Know your money. Check it before you spend it. A message from the Central Bank of Belize.
In Belize, the Public Utilities Commission works every day amid the rhythm of economic activities to ensure homes, businesses, and communities have access to necessary utility services. Through regulations, the Public Utilities Commission powers progress, connect communities, encourage new ideas and bold innovation, manage consumer rights, guide change, and serves in the best interests of national development for a future that benefits us all. Every decision is informed by evidence and guided by regulations and the law. So if and when changes arise in any of Belize's utility sectors, including situations that may affect competition, regulations and laws allow the PUC to carefully assess those changes, ensuring consumers are treated fairly while maintaining a sustainable utility sector. The Public Utilities Commission, guided by the law, informed by evidence, working to ensure fair and sustainable utility services for Belize.
The first week we had it at Henry. Now this second week we're having it here at Georgetown Technical High School. Basically what we're doing is that we're trying to get youths involved in agriculture, especially because that is very important. We need it for food security, we need them to be sustainable. So we target them at a young age so that they can be able to incorporate whatever activity they're learning in their daily life, especially during the summer days, right? Regular summer camps would entail them probably to have some fun games outdoors and different other activities, but in terms of agriculture, we get them involved in different activities. For example, the whole week it's broken down in different activities. We had on Monday, we had horticulture, meaning that they had the opportunity to sow a seed, to do transplanting in a cover structure. On Tuesday, we taught them about livestock concept when it comes to New World screwworm, different livestock related activities. Wednesday, beekeeping. Thursday, we focus on agro-processing, getting preparations when it comes to hands-on practice with healthy breakfast, healthy meals. And then on Friday, we wrap up with aquaculture.
I just wanted to see the different topics we were going to learn about to try to learn something. We were learning about beekeeping, and I learned a lot that in one bee box, there can be up to 80,000 views. I've been having a lot of fun.
They are always excited. I mean, every day they come, you see a lot of sense of happiness and humor within them that they want to come to the agriculture summer program.
I'm very impressed with the amount of participants because we try to limit to 50. I believe today we have almost 70. And so we have a serious encouragement for young people. Because when I assume the responsibility as Minister of Agriculture, I recognize that young people don't want to do agriculture anymore. They want to be in tourism or academics or something like that regard. But as a nation, agriculture is the backbone of any economy. So as the minister responsible, I want to do everything possible to encourage young people to go into farming.
Good evening with your newscast, also simulcast on Fiesta FM 106.7. I am Jaden Gamis. A family of 5 is without a home after a fire destroyed their wooden house in Cristo Rey Village, Corozal District on Sunday, August 16th, 2026. The incident occurred shortly after 7 p.m. while the family was attending services at the Pentecostal church. They were alerted that the house had caught fire. Luckily, at the time, no one was inside the residence. But by the time firefighters eventually brought the blaze under control, the wooden structure and everything inside had been completely destroyed. The property was not insured, and the total value of the home and belongings lost is estimated at approximately 35,000 Belizean dollars. It is a devastating loss for Lisbeth Kuo, her 2 daughters, her husband, and her mother-in-law.
Nosotros llegamos a la casa, bueno, pues ya todo ya se estaba consumiendo por el fuego, no se pudo hacer nada.
¿Quién todos vivían en la casa?
Éramos 6, mis tres hijos y mis 2 yernos.
¿Quedó completamente destruida toda la casa, incluyendo lo que contenía adentro?
Sí, se quemó todo, pues no se pudo salvar nada. Todos nuestros documentos, todo. Incluso pues yo me dedicaba a vender, iba a Chetumal a conseguir unas cosas porque vendía en online. Y todo lo que yo tenía se me quemó, incluso el dinero que yo iba guardando de mis ahorros que yo tenía de mis ventas. Todas mis cosas, su dinero de mis días, porque de hecho ellos, era domingo y ellos trabajan en Tizón, se les quemó lo que tenían guardado. Pues no se logró salvar nada.
Ok, ¿llegaron los bomberos al lugar?
Sí, pero cuando ellos llegaron, la casa ya estaba quemada, y atrás pues había una casa de mi mamá y pues solo se logró pues.
As police worked to determine how the fire started, investigators reviewed surveillance footage from a nearby store. The footage reportedly showed a small spark coming from an electrical wire before the situation rapidly escalated into a fire.
Pues me comentó un muchacho que estaba acá enfrente que él vio que era como por el breaker. Entonces ayer vinieron los policías y vinieron a investigar qué pasó, y pues como yo vivía enfrente acá de el chino, fueron a checar en su cámara Entonces la cámara muestra de que por el mitre que estaba en la casa, pues pues de ahí se vio que dentro de la casa, como no estaban cerradas las ventanas, de ahí fue que mostró que de adentro pues que algo explotó y eso fue lo que causó el incendio. Pues hasta donde ellos llegaron, pues que pudo ser un corto que hubo pues por el breaker.
While the investigation remains ongoing, it comes after the loss of the family's home and personal possessions. Being left with the difficult task of rebuilding their lives, the family is asking for the public's assistance to be able to do so.
Pues ahorita le doy gracias a Dios de que pues ya hubo personas que nos han brindado la ayuda con ropa y pues me han dado unas donaciones, pues yo la verdad ahorita lo que yo más necesitaría, pues ya hay personas que se me han ofrecido para ayudarme a levantar mi casa. Sería, verdad, pues sé que en este momento no importa la cantidad, pero lo que les nazca en su corazón, lo que quieran aportar, y porque pues sí me gustaría levantar nuevamente mi casa. Y como le comento, pues gracias a Dios sé que hay personas que se han ofrecido a ayudarme a levantar mi casa nuevamente.
The family can be contacted at 631-1868. Donations can also be deposited at Atlantic Bank account number 212-00-46569. A $1,200 reward is now being offered for information that leads police to 47-year-old Julio Reyes of Orange Walk, who is being sought for questioning in connection with a child abuse investigation. Police are appealing to members of the public who may know Reyes' whereabouts to come forward as the investigation continues. Authorities have emphasized that Reyes is wanted specifically for questioning and that locating him could assist investigators in advancing the case. Anyone with information that could help police find Reyes is urged to contact Crime Stoppers Belize at 922, submit information through the P3 app, or report directly to the nearest police station. Police are encouraging anyone with credible information to make contact, with the $1,200 reward available for information leading to Reyes. Belize's trade union movement came together this morning in a unified call for action on several issues they say are of national importance. The joint position comes in place of a planned protest over the proposed acquisition of SpeedNet, the parent company of Smart, by Belize Telemedia Limited. Cabinet last week rejected the deal, days before the unions were expected to take to the streets. With the acquisition now off the table, the National Trade Union Congress of Belize, Public Service Union, Belize National Teachers Union, and Belize Communication Workers Union, with the support of social partners, have broadened their demands. One of their key calls is for the removal of BTL Chairman Mark Helm Lizarraga and other directors as pressure continues over the handling of the failed Smart/SpeedNet acquisition.
If there are any outstanding internal BTL board processes, and Valas will explain that further, resolutions, approvals, or corporate requirements necessary to conclude the closure of the rejection of the acquisition process, these should be done urgently and transparently. The public should be informed when these processes have been completed, not held behind closed doors. 2, restore confidence in BTL's leadership. We call for the immediate removal of Chairman Mark Lizarraga. Our position is based on a loss of confidence. We believe the chairman has not been sufficiently honest, transparent, and forthcoming with BTL workers and the Belizean public. and therefore has lost confidence of many employees at BTL, workers and Belizeans. When BTL lost business to Smart, he took a nonchalant attitude. He advocated to pay $90 million for cable companies and industry that has long since been dying, and his insistence that he wanted to go through with the purchase of Smart and SpeedNet. Other board members from BTL whose roles and accountability should be reviewed, and eventually we will ask for their removal: Moises Cal, Arturo Lizarraga,
right,
and Mr. Eric Yusuf, who represents the small shareholders, and Sister Callis will touch on that later on when it comes to the small shareholders, how that process will go through. And the timeline for that is immediate.
The unions are also demanding greater openness from the Office of the Prime Minister on matters they consider to be of national importance. Among their proposals are twice-yearly meetings between the Prime Minister and the trade union movement, as well as more frequent updates from his office.
We are not here today to ask permission to speak on behalf of our workers of Belize. We are here because the government of Belize has made choices behind closed doors that belong to you, the Belizean people. And the labor movement will no longer stand outside those doors waiting to be told what was decided. We are demanding a formal accountability structure with the Prime Minister, direct meetings every 6 months, minimum and written reviews with named responsible officers of government officials every 3 months to monitor commitments made. And why we say this is because we have had 2 meetings so far, at least under my presidency, with the Prime Minister. We've been promised documents, promised drafts, promised information, deadlines were given, and nothing has been passed on to the union for us to review and to meet back. There is no contact person that we have in the Prime Minister's office where we can go to ensure we get these documents. So this is the first demand that we are asking for. We'd like to move on to obviously the most important and urgent issue that we have on our plate right now: the way forward protecting Belizeans working and the public interest when it comes to the BTL Smart proposed, now rejected acquisition. First of all, we'd like to thank Belize and Belizeans for educating themselves, because that is what it came to. It came down to Belizeans having to find the information, the unions having to research to get that information. We'd like to thank all Belizeans who took part in the Black Friday dress wear. It shows that we are moving towards a movement where Belizeans are prepared to speak up, take action, and stand together when decisions affecting your national assets, workers, consumers, and futures are at stake. We also recognize and we appreciate the growing commitment of Belizeans who are ready to demonstrate today if we had continued with the demonstration.
Another major demand is greater representation in the governance of BTL, which the unions describe as a national asset. They're calling for tripartite representation on the company's board, including membership from the NTUCB, while also pushing for fairer competition and government contracts for BTL, which the people say is owned by the people of Belize.
Another demand: the People's Telecommunications Company must include the people in BTL. In BTL, it is said by the chairman, it has been finally admitted that the company is owned by the public, by Belizeans. Then we say workers and the Belizeans must have a meaningful voice in its governance. We therefore call for what has been established at many other organizations and boards, the tripartite structure at BTL. And the timeline is 90 days. It can be done. It's been done at Social Security Board, the University of Belize Board, many other boards in this country. It allows for accountability, transparency, and once we have BCCI, the employers representative, and the workers representative in NTUCB, we know that we can then gain back that trust in these organizations. 90 days timeline. Let's go a little bit further to the press release from SpeedNet and Smart. As with every other Belizeans, we agree with competition, right? Competition is good, but fair competition is better. We support genuine competition in telecommunications because consumers benefit, you benefit, I benefit. The service is better and we have competitive prices. However, the recent Smart SpeedNet release, I don't know about you, but it left a bad taste in the workers of this country's mouth. We found it to be vindictive rather than constructive and consistent with the principles of fair competition. Our position is not an anti-smart position, anti-SpeedNet. Our position is protecting national assets and defense of BTL. And that is what we must spread out to our members and to the workers of this country, defending BTL. Of course, that's when Mr. Raga leaves immediately, right? Right? Public ownership first. Belize BTL belongs to the Belizean public, owned jointly by the government of Belize, the Social Security Board, and everyday Belizeans. Every dollar BTL earns feeds back into the public revenue, workers' pension, and national infrastructure. 100% channeling of government business. The NTUCB stance is non-negotiable. All government business, statutory boards, contracts, and public sector communication services must be funneled directly through BTL.
The unions also raised concerns over what they describe as a potential conflict of interest involving SMART and the Public Utilities Commission. They are calling for social partner representation on the PUC, including the NTUCB, Belize Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Belize National Network, and National Evangelical Association of Belize, alongside 3 government-appointed members.
We all know the Prime Minister's influence over the regulator is perceived to be a real thing. If the Prime Minister appoints the members of the BUC, there can be a perceived conflict between potential influence and regulatory independence, especially now, right? Commissioner may never have or never will personally receive anything of value, but the circumstances could create the appearance of regulatory capture, where a regulator is perceived as being influenced by the interests of the political actors connected to SMART and SpeedNet. That perception is particularly serious because the PUC is supposed to regulate telecommunications in the public interest and promote competition and consumer protection. The public could reasonably ask whether commissioners are completely free to make a decision that could adversely affect an entity in which the appointing the Prime Minister family has a financial interest. So the NTUCB called on the government to return public confidence in the PUC by having 4 of the 7 commissioners nominated through the recognized social partners in good standing. These include, these include Labor, which is through the NTUCB, Business through BCCI, Belizean NGOs through BNN, and the churches through NEAB. And then 3 commissioners from the government of the day. As you can see, the structure, it allows for the citizens of Belize to have majority control over the PUC.
Most of the demands have been given a 90-day timeline. The unions say if meaningful action is not taken within that period, they are prepared to consider further protest action. Union Senator Glenfield Dennison also used today's gathering to call for movement on legislation aimed at strengthening accountability and protecting public resources. He highlighted the need to gazette the Civil Assets Recovery and Unexplained Wealth Bill, which he says is already law but has yet to take effect. The legislation, he says, would help the state recover assets obtained through illegal or improper processes.
I want to talk about the Civil Assets Recovery and Unexplained Wealth Act. That's not one law, you know. Like we got an actual law, but guess where they go on? The minister responsible for finance, that law has already been assented to by the Governor General and has already been gazetted on the 28th of July 2023, you know. We have a law, but guess what happened? The minister responsible for finance not exercise the power under section 99 of the law will say This act shall come into force on a day appointed by the minister by order published in the Gazette. I wonder why we don't want to bring the Civil Assets Recovery and Unexplained Wealth into being. Because you see, what happened throughout this country is public money is being funneled into private hands. People are exercising discretion using public funds for building war chests, for building generational wealth. And this piece of law is a part and parcel of all that is UNCA, all that is to ensure that corruption is minimized, so that when you have one house, whether 3 storage by one seaside, and you can't explain how you get it, that are for the people of Belize, you know. Because that true for we money you get it. So I know my president said 90 days for the piece of thing, you know. But this could pass this week, you know. It's a one order publishing of the Gazette. And we could start take back house and land and stuff from people and assets where they have, where they can't explain how they got it.
He also called for whistleblower legislation to be advanced, arguing that greater protections are needed for individuals who expose wrongdoing.
It's a piece of legislation that is meant to protect people who are doing exactly what we need more of in Belize. Blowing the whistle on corruption. Whistleblowers legislation is languishing, Paul, in the House of Representatives, my brother. Not the Osh. That's what we need for spot one light pan. Why is that piece of legislation languishing that dead, you know? So we have to resurrect it. Resurrect the Protected Disclosure Bill, because you see how they victimize or want to victimize the people who they leak the screenshots from the Mirror Millions? That are where that did for protect. So make we get that out in the next 90 days. Are you ready for debate that at the Senate? Senator Chino, are you ready for debate that in the Senate? Are you ready? So make we get the whistleblowers bill. No. This is a 1 year way.
Denison further stressed that the unions will continue to press for answers surrounding the Ministry of Defense procurement scandal, which he says remains a major concern. He also urged the public officers to act responsibly and follow proper procedures, warning that union support should not be expected after an officer is dismissed for becoming involved in questionable practices.
The Ministry of Defense procurement scandal cannot be swept under the rug, because it is showing us the weakness in our procurement system. And so it doesn't matter if we double or triple the budgets. If the leakages don't stop, monies will not be available for people of Belize to have in their pockets. The taxes don't need to be raised if we are using the monies efficiently. No, I know the stop that just be there, you know. Because I never only they there. So the senator for the unions, the set of public servants, if you do thing out there what you know for the do, no can shelter under the union when you get due process and you get fired or not. Public officers stand upon integrity and report their things.
On the education front, the BNTU National President Nadia Khalis highlighted several issues the teachers' union continues to push to resolve. One of the concerns is the resource allowance for teachers as the start of the school year. Khalis says the union wants to see teachers receive the funds to help cover the costs of materials and resources needed for the new school year, a cost teachers have been covering for years.
These two, and in Belize we have been asking for this over and over again. Over and over and over again we have been asking for the same thing. They have listened, but did they truly hear us? They have listened, but are you really listening? This is the last September, and I'm saying this, the last September 2026 will be the last time our educators will be going into their pockets to provide these resources.
Another major concern is what the union describes as an unfair wage scale for teachers in the technical and vocational education and training, or the TVET sector.
And we are comfortable with that. The BNTU is no longer accepting the fact that our VOTEC teachers are stuck on pay scale 8 at 0.4 for 20 odd years. Wow. Today, I tell you, we have been having this discussion, MOE and the BNTU have been having this discussion. And one of the things my negotiating team can tell you is that through the TVET Act, proposed act, that should have been addressed. But when we looked at what was happening, especially during the discussion yesterday, we realized again that they are lost in transition. So we were told that these VOTEC teachers will be considered TVET instructors even though they are working in these high schools because of the nature of the job that they do. But we're not seeing anything in the proposed bill that covers them. No more freezing on 0.4. No more freezing on 0.4. I'm repeating it, you know. No more freezing on 0.4. They don't have 90 days to address that, for the record. Am I right, council? They don't have 90 days to address that. That needs to be fixed.
EU is also calling for the return of the August break, RUF, an issue Khalis says remains among the union's priorities.
August. Back in the day, we enjoyed our July and August. Today, it's July, or part of July, and August we're on call, workshops, and all of these things. Anyhow, I want to thank all the former BNTU leaders and members who fought for what we are enjoying today, and we are losing, according to some of them, we're losing a number of things that they negotiated for. One of them happens to be this. As educators, we are paid for 10 months. But we have decided that we'll take those 10 months salary and divide it by 12. So while we're on vacation, quotation for vacation, we can be given a salary. But we have already worked for that for the 10 months. Right. Now, it brings us now to where we are. And I'm quite certain my ministry will be surprised listening to this, because we haven't said this to them. But we're telling them publicly, we are coming back for August.
That's right.
We are coming back for August because our teachers are burnt out. Our teachers are overworked. Our teachers are stressed. And they keep adding and adding and adding and adding more responsibilities. So we are coming back for August. Professional development. Management have management days. Everybody have days within the system where professional development can be given throughout the school year. We're August back.
Kali says the BNTU has been raising the issue and continues to seek a resolution to ensure teachers in the sector are fairly compensated for their work and qualifications.
And the reason why I am talking about education, because you know the BNTU is the artist Houston Alvarez Jr., known as UB. He says, tend to the business we pay you. And we have been taking care of this nation for a while. And while we were doing that, education just started to go down. And so now to ensure that we secure the working environment for our educators, our membership, we have to do a balance between the nation and the business we pay with. And in many instances, we have to focus on the business that pays us because it's in a far worse state than it was before. When we talk about the conditions within the schools, it needs to be fixed. Now, to some of my managers, the BNTU has made multiple attempts to meet with all managers. The general managers for the major schools, the big ones, government, Catholic, Methodist, were not present at the meetings. And majority of our members comes from these managements. It's important that we meet, it's important that we discuss. If we don't come to a middle ground, we're going to continue to have challenges. The union is accused of being biased. We come to you to get your side. We come to you so we can look at the rules and what the rules are saying. And most of the time you get upset with us because what we will point out to you is the fact that where you do wrong because the rules said are not so. But you don't want to be held accountable, some of you. But we cannot continue to have sacred cows in education.
That's right.
Coming up next, El Pocito Archaeological Complex faces destruction. Those responsible could face $75,000 fine or a 5-year prison sentence. Stay tuned.
It's nothing about censorship. I don't know how you could come to that. I think the big thing about the broadcasting authority is that now all of these online media people, blogs or whatever, that are taking advertisements and everything, also they have to be held to the same standards that you are being held. You all are at a disadvantage competing with these bloggers. These bloggers go online and they have something and just put it out there without even checking whether it is so or not so, and all that kind of thing, and then they're collecting revenues. They're providing a kind of like a service to the public, and they need to be held to the same journalistic standards that you at Love and Creme, Channel 7, Channel 5 are being held to. And that's the main part of it. Technology has changed, so we can't continue using the same legislation that was addressing the technology of the 1990s. So we have to keep up with that. So it has absolutely nothing to do with censorship.
In Belize, the Public Utilities Commission works every day amid the rhythm of economic activities to ensure homes, businesses, and communities have access to necessary utility services. Through regulations, the Public Utilities Commission powers progress, connect communities, encourage new ideas and bold innovation, manage consumer rights, guide change, and serves in the best interests of national development for a future that benefits us all. Every decision is informed by evidence and guided by regulations and the law. So if and when changes arise in any of Belize's utility sectors, including situations that may affect competition, regulations and laws allow the PUC to carefully assess those changes, ensuring consumers are treated fairly while maintaining a sustainable utility sector. The Public Utilities Commission, guided by the law, informed by evidence, working to ensure fair and sustainable utility services for Belize.
Authorities are seeking answers after an ancient archaeological complex at El Pocito near Guinea Grass Village in the Orange Walk district was found destroyed, prompting the National Institute of Culture and History, NICH, to appeal to the public for information that could help identify those responsible. The Institute of Archaeology, the IA, documented the damage during an inspection on Monday, August 17, 2026, discovering that Complex D and several structures associated with it had been destroyed. According to senior archaeologist Josue Ramos, the site had already been under close observation, with the IA increasing inspections after land clearing activities in the surrounding area caused partial damage to structures near the site's core.
Been monitoring the area for over the years, and I've been here at the Institute of Archaeology since 2012, and I'm pretty sure my predecessors were also doing the same. However, of recent, like approximately a year ago, we starting to see some land clearing getting closer and closer to the site core. So we increased our routine northern inspection, and we have been doing that monthly. We have reached out to various people in Agaspan Ridge, Trinidad, and in the shipyard area. We haven't found who the persons working around. Like I mentioned, the chairman indicated that it's Sprongland, so I would assume these people might be. And our team then did another northern inspection around the 20th of July. And then we conducted the other inspection just yesterday. And that's when we found this. And it seemed pretty freshly done. Unfortunately, no one was in the area when we arrived.
According to Ramos, the Institute of Archaeology does not believe the situation mirrors what occurred at NOHMUL, where several sites were destroyed to provide material for landfill.
In this particular case, we don't see any activity or intent to use the area as mining, as has been in the past at other sites. For instance, if you guys recall the Nokmol situation, that was particularly for mining activities. For this, we assume it was for agricultural or, I don't know, maybe wanting to find an area for putting house. I don't know what would be the rationale to flatten one of these bigger structure. We know that there are a lot of small farming happening around, and so we don't see it as being used for mining or quarrying for road fill. What we have seen, not just here, but throughout the country, is that a lot of developments are been happening, for example, in subdivision as well. Again, I must reiterate that we didn't see any evidence of subdivision in this area. So we just assuming it was done by some farmer. From what we observe on the ground, and if you look at the green orthomosaic image that was shared, you could see the trucks of the heavy equipment, more than likely a bulldozer, that was used to clear all the vegetation in that area and even flatten part of one of the larger structures there.
The full extent of the damage, including its financial impact, has yet to be determined.
In archaeology, it's pretty hard to put a value because for us as archaeologists, there is no value for any ancient monument or antiquity. The extent of how many structure was destroyed, we have to go in and do a proper assessment based on utilizing the most recent data collected, which was the collection of LiDAR data by the archaeological project. So that data is currently being processed, and once we have the results, we'll be able to then overlay it on the orthomosaic that we created yesterday, and then can tell you. But from the onset, we know that one of the bigger structure was destroyed, and there were other small structures adjacent to Group B of the El Posito that were partially destroyed in the land clearing. At a distance, we see other land clearing. How we are doing now is we are also, to cover more ground, we are using drones. So we do a lot of flyovers throughout the country. And hopefully soon we'll be able to, if we are successful in grant writing, we'll be able to acquire one of our drones with capabilities to do LiDAR. But for now, we're just using the regular camera on the drone to do aerial reconnaissance and then we do ground truthing on the ground.
Of note is that archaeological monuments are protected by law. Under the National Institute of Culture and History Act, deliberately damaging, destroying, or disturbing an ancient monument constitutes an offense, with those convicted facing a fine of up to $75,000, imprisonment for up to 5 years, or both. Anyone who may have information about the destruction of Complex D or the surrounding structures can report the matter to the nearest police station or directly to Niche's senior archaeologist at 601-7292 or 672-4190. With archaeological sites being at an important part of Belize's natural cultural heritage, El Pocito has recently become the focus of renewed archaeological research. The Institute of Archaeology partnered with the College of the East Texas on a research project led by principal investigator Dr. Keith Epich. The project's first field season took place during the summer of 2026 and focused on updating the site's original 1976 map while laying the groundwork for future archaeological investigations.
El Pocito is one of those bigger sites in northern Belize, and it was first documented in 1976-77 when they produced one of the first maps. And one of the goal of this new researcher is to update that map, update it with the use of technology, and also to charter a way forward in conducting further research and understand how the classic Maya of El Pocito were living and doing commerce. This is a classic Maya site. One of the primary goal of the current or the new researcher is to understand just that, to see what were the commerce activity of this site in relation to its northern landscape on how far it extended. We won't be able to know that until actual excavations are done to determine that. So we are hopeful that we still can proceed with that, and I know this is a wrench in the research project that will probably deviate a little bit by looking at these structures that were partially destroyed first, to be able to document whatever is left there.
Weeks after an unprecedented die-off devastated sections of the Belize River, investigators are still searching for a definitive explanation for one of the country's most serious recent environmental incidents. The scale of the morality has left environmentalists deeply concerned. While fish kills are not unheard of, the sheer number and variety of animals found dead has raised an alarm, with reports extending beyond fish to include crocodiles and hikitis. Yesterday, the Ministry of Sustainable Development held a press conference to provide its most comprehensive update yet on the investigation. The first reports emerged from the Belize River Valley, where dead fish were observed floating in sections of the waterway. The most significant concentrations were reported between St. Paul's Bank and Grace Bank. On August 3rd, the Department of Environment was noted and immediately deployed teams to assess the situation. Investigators initially focused on 3 possible explanations: disease, toxic contamination, or an unusually heavy organic load entering the river. Based on the testing conducted so far, officials say disease has now been largely ruled out.
Took samples from 150 meters upstream from Santander Discharge Channel at the canal, and then 150 meters downstream. We also took samples at St. Paul's Bank, Isabella Bank, Flowers Bank, and Barraboom. We also took samples from Santander Effluent Treatment Pond, from the drainage network within the farm, and from the canal itself. And so the water quality assessment was quite extensive. We conducted what is called in situ sampling. That means sample on site. The data that we collected were data of the water quality at that point in time. And we also collected what is called grab sample. So we collected sample in a bottle. We brought these samples to our lab to get tested. In terms of the observation, we observed that The area between St. Paul's Bank and Grace Bank was the area most impacted. That is where we found most of the dead fish. And also the data will show that that is the area where the water quality was poorest, basically, as it relates to dissolved oxygen in particular.
Investigators are now examining whether more than one factor may have contributed to the event. One area receiving particular attention is a large rice growing operation located north of Santander. According to the Department of Environment, the rice field sits in a low-lying area and is intersected by a canal. The canal drains into Labyrinth Creek, which eventually empties into the Belize River. The connection has become a significant focus of the investigation because rice cultivation involves maintaining flooded fields. When water from those fields is released, it can potentially transport organic material and other substances into nearby waterways. Officials say the physical layout of the operation makes the possibility worth investigating, but establishing a connection is different from proving causation.
The Department of Environment did our internal checks, and we have found, at least according to our records, that the person does not have environmental clearance for this area, for the development of this area, which is a clear violation of the environmental regulations. A project of this size, in our estimation, would have required to undergo the EI process, and so violation of that process, the penalty is between $50,000 to $100,000. And so what we will do is, when we receive confirmation from the Lands Department that this person owns the land, we will soon give the person an opportunity to provide any permits. That's the way how the process works. And if you can't, then again, the person will be held accountable for the violation.
One of the leading concerns surrounding the investigation is oxygen depletion. A significant drop in dissolved oxygen can create deadly conditions for aquatic life, particularly fish that depend on oxygen dissolved in the water. But the depths of crocodiles and turtles complicated that explanation. Unlike fish, these reptiles breathe atmospheric oxygen. Their deaths raise the possibility that factors beyond simple oxygen depletion in the water may have been involved, or what the environmental conditions were severe enough to produce additional effects that investigators have yet to fully establish. Questions have also emerged about reports describing the Santander operation as having a closed-loop water.
I mentioned that, again, when an aquatic ecosystem, when the dissolved oxygen levels go low, it creates what is called an anoxic environment. And so in an environment like that, you have bacteria that thrive well without oxygen. They proliferate and they grow, and they produce hydrogen sulfide, and hydrogen sulfide could be one of the causes of the death of the turtle and the crocodile. And then the other possible cause is mycotoxins. So certain bacteria produces mycotoxins that are very harmful to aquatic life, basically. Discharge into the drainage system, and the drainage system is where water is obtained for irrigation. So in a normal circumstance, there is no it's enclosed, but it's when the area floods, that's when the water goes into the canal and then discharges into the river. But we have already started conversation with Santander. So we have some broad things that we want to do, some broad corrective actions, and Santander are coming up with some very concrete actions that they could put in place to avoid this from happening again. So one of the things that they have presented to us is completely ensuring that the effluent water from the factory itself is completely it's a circular system they want to put in place, so we won't have any discharge, basically. But again, that doesn't resolve the issue of some of the farms in the future, or an area of the farm still being flooded and organic matter still entering into the river.
The Belize Companies and Corporate Affairs Registry, the BCCAR, has confirmed that a security weakness in its passport-based registration process allowed hackers to gain unauthorized access to company records stored on the Online Business Registry System, the OBRS. In what the agency described as its final public update on the cybersecurity incident, the BCCAR said its investigation traced the breach to a vulnerability affecting the creation of limited public user accounts. According to the registry, the flaw has since been fixed. BCCAR has strengthened its access controls and temporarily suspended passport-based registration for the affected type of account as part of its efforts to prevent another breach. Additional safeguards have also been introduced. These include a temporary restriction limiting users to 100 document views or downloads per hour, a review of authentication measures, and improved system logging and monitoring designed to identify suspicious activity sooner. The BCCAR said the documents that were downloaded during the period of unauthorized access can be identified through a solid wording icon displayed within the OBRS. Despite confirming the breach, however, the agency has not released details on the scale of the incident. It has not stated how many users or documents were affected, or the specified types of companies' informations that may have been accessed. The BCCAR also has not revealed whether investigators have identified those responsible for the intrusion or determined whether the attack originated in Belize or from abroad. The OBRS was taken offline following the cybersecurity incident and was restored on August 10th. The BCCAR said it continues to work alongside cybersecurity specialists to independently verify the full scope of impact of the breach. Looking ahead, the agency says its focus will be on strengthening its cybersecurity posture. Planned measures include continuous monitoring, alerts for unusual or large-scale activity, regular reviews of user access, vulnerability assessments, cybersecurity testing, and improvements to its incident response procedures. The BCCAR is advising customers and registered agents to review their records on the OBRS and pay particular attention to documents carrying the warning indicator. The latest update provides greater clarity on how the breach occurred and the measures taken to address the vulnerability, while several key questions about the extent and origin of the incident remain unanswered. There is more news after the break. Stay tuned.
On 1st August 1838, our African ancestors were legally emancipated from slavery, marking the beginning of a new chapter in the pursuit of dignity, justice, and opportunity. We honor their resilience, celebrate their enduring legacy, and reflect on the sacrifices that helped shape our nation. 5 years ago, the government of Belize formally recognized Emancipation Day as a deeply rooted part of our national journey and identity. That struggle, resistance, and triumph are fundamental parts of our road to independence, and that this present moment in 2026 is intertwined with our many challenges and opportunities as a nation and people. Advancing our education upliftment project and healthy school meals agenda, building more affordable homes for those most in need, and expanding our national health insurance program to ensure better health care for all. Physical freedom must be backed by economic empowerment. On behalf of the government of Belize, I have appointed the Belize Pro Tem Reparations Committee, marking Belize's active involvement in the call for reparatory justice. As the CARICOM Reparations Manifesto states, the goal is to achieve material, social, cultural, and financial justice for sustainable development. Through this initiative, Belize will have a voice in the CARICOM Reparations Commission as it works to define and implement a 10-point action plan aimed at securing redress for the centuries of oppression endured by African and indigenous peoples and their descendants. Today, on Emancipation Day, let us remember that we stand on the shoulders of men and women who were held in chains, but whose spirits were never bound.
The government of Belize has voiced serious concern over the growing violence targeting Palestinian civilians in the West Bank, including East Jerusalem, amid a recent escalation that has claimed lives and contributed to renewed acts by Israeli settlers on neighboring Palestinian communities. Belize said the deteriorating situation has resulted in casualties on both sides and warned that continued settler violence risks further worsen tensions and instability across the region. The Belizean government stressed that as the occupying power, Israel has a responsibility under international humanitarian law to protect the Palestinian population, including safeguarding civilians from violence committed by Israeli settlers. Belize also called for thorough investigations and accountability for those responsible for such acts. Belize urged Israel to take immediate and meaningful steps to prevent further settler attacks, ensure the perpetrators face justice, and avoid measures that could amount to collective punishment of Palestinian civilians. Reiterating its long-standing position, Belize said the Israeli occupation and the establishment and expansion of settlements in Palestinian territory are unlawful and must come to an end. The government referenced the July 2024 advisory opinion of the International Court of Justice in reaffirming that position. Belize also renewed its support for the New York Declaration and for a peaceful and lasting resolution to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. The government said such a solution must provide for a sovereign and viable state of Palestine living alongside Israel in peace and security. In expressing solidarity with the Palestinian people, Belize emphasized that civilians on all sides must be protected. The government reiterated its call for a resolution based on international law, justice, and the security of both Palestinians and Israelis. Belize has taken another significant step towards strengthening its disaster response capacity as the Belize Defense Force, the BDF Air Wing, successfully completed specialized training in humanitarian airdrop operations in Costa Rica. The trainer course brought together 7 BDF Air Wing personnel for a joint mobile training team engagement involving the United States Air Force 571st Mobility Support Advisory Squadron, the MSAS, and Costa Rica's Servicio de Vigilancia Área, the SVA. The exercise combined classroom instruction, technical guidance, and practical training designed to equip Belizean personnel with the skills needed to conduct and teach humanitarian airdrop operations. Participants included pilots, parachute riggers, ground controllers, maintenance specialists, and cargo loadmasters. Throughout the training, they received hands-on instruction in parachute preparation, aircraft configuration, cargo loading procedures, airdrop planning, and the management of designated drop zones. Beyond technical instruction, the initiative was aimed at developing Belize's long-term capacity to independently maintain and expand its humanitarian airdrop program. Through aviation advising and partnership building, U.S. and Costa Rican specialists provided mentorship and operational expertise to the BDF personnel. A key accomplishment of the engagement was the progression of the Belizean participants from trainees to instructors. After completing their own training, the newly qualified BDF instructors took part in delivering airdrop instruction to personnel from Costa Rica's SVA. The opportunity allowed the BDF team to put its newly acquired knowledge into practice while strengthening instructional techniques and deepening professional ties with a regional aviation partner. It also demonstrated the importance of regional cooperation in developing specialized capabilities that can be deployed during emergencies. The newly established group of BDF airdrop instructors is expected to play an important role in expanding this capability within the Air Wing. By training additional personnel and developing local expertise, the cadre can help ensure that humanitarian airdrop skills remain available and sustainable in Belize over the long term. The enhanced capability could prove especially valuable during hurricanes, floods, and other disasters when roads and conventional transportation routes become inaccessible. In such circumstances, aircraft-based delivery can provide an alternative means of transporting food, medical supplies, emergency equipment, and other essential resources to communities cut off from normal access. The development of this capability strengthens Belize's humanitarian assistance and disaster relief, the HADR, readiness while giving the country an additional tool to respond quickly when communities are most vulnerable. The Belize Defense Force expressed its appreciation to the U.S. Air Force 571st MSAS, the U.S. Embassy in Belize, and Costa Rica Servicio de Vigilancia Área for their continued cooperation and support. This successful training represents more than the completion of a specialized aviation course. It marks a further investment in Belizean expertise, regional security, cooperation, and the country's ability to provide critical assistance to its people during times of crisis. And that's the news. We invite you to join us for another newscast on Wednesday, August 19th, here on Ctv3 News and Fiesta FM 106.7. Remember that to read a text version of the news, you can visit our website at www.ctv3belizenews.com. You can also log on to our Facebook page for current stories at facebook.com/ctv3belizenews. Or you can visit our YouTube channel at Ctv3 News. From all of us here at Ctv3, thank you for watching and listening, and have a splendid night.